Today we're diving into a really powerful early novel by Dostoevsky. He wrote this one right after getting back from exile in Siberia, and you can just feel the raw emotion in it. It's basically the blueprint for all his later masterpieces. We're talking about Humiliated and Insulted.
So, imagine hearing those words. I will never go home again. That's the novel's heroine, Natasha, and this is the moment her entire world just fractures. She, a daughter who loves her family, just walks away, knowing she might never, ever see them again. I mean, talk about a point of no return.
And that really is the central question of the whole book, isn't it? Why would anyone do that? Why would a loving daughter basically torpedo her own family for a romance that, honestly, looks doomed from the get-go? On the surface, it makes absolutely no sense. To get it, we really have to dig into the people at the heart of this story.
All right, so at the center of this whole emotional storm, you've got three key players. There's Natasha, her lover Alyosha, who is charming, but, and this is key, dangerously weak-willed. And then there's our narrator, Vanya, who's secretly in love with Natasha the whole time. You can already see how this is going to get complicated, right?
Okay, so let's break this down, because this is where the tragedy really kicks in. Natasha, her love for Alyosha isn't just passion, it's almost a kind of self-destructive obsession. The problem? Alyosha is basically a child in a man's body. He's sweet, he's lovable, for sure, but he has zero moral backbone. He'll promise Natasha everything one minute and then get completely distracted by someone else the next. And all the while, you've got poor Vanya, our narrator, watching this unfold. He loves her so much that he's willing to help her be with this other guy. So yeah, this is not your simple love story. It's a triangle built on sacrifice.
But to really, truly get why Natasha's choice is so monumental, we've got to go back in time a bit, because what looks like a simple romance is, well, it's actually an act of war. These two families are caught in this incredibly ugly, destructive feud.
You know, it's funny, it all started with friendship. Real, genuine trust. See, Natasha's dad, a guy named Ivan, was this honest, hardworking manager for the super-wealthy Prince Valkovsky, that's Alyosha's father. They weren't just business associates, they were close friends. Ivan thought the prince was a man of his word, a man of honor. Oh man, was he wrong.
And the whole thing just unravels, step by step. First, the prince sends his son, Alyosha, to go live with the Ivanovs. Of course, what happens? Natasha and Alyosha fall in love. But this really innocent romance gets twisted by nasty gossip. Suddenly, the rumor is that the Ivanov family are social climbers trying to trap the young prince for his money. And the prince, instead of defending his friend, he buys into it completely. He turns on Ivanov, publicly calls him a thief, and then hits him with a lawsuit that's designed to destroy him. Just total betrayal.
So now you see the impossible position Natasha's in. If she chooses Alyosha, she's not just picking a boyfriend. She's siding with the son of the man who is trying to systematically ruin her own father. It's like she's telling the world that all those horrible rumors were true. The shame she'd bring on her family, it's just unimaginable. So what do? It's family loyalty versus a love that feels like your destiny, even if it's a destructive one.
And this idea of suffering, it's so central to everything. In fact, Dostoevsky builds the whole meaning of the novel's title, Humiliated and Insulted, around this really haunting little subplot. It's a short, kind of brutal story that acts like a parable for the whole book.
So our narrator, Vanya, he starts noticing this old man named Smith at a local cafe, and Spectre is really the only word for him. The guy's rail thin, he never speaks, and he's totally alone. Well, except for his dog Azorka, who's just as old and starving as he is. Together they're just this perfect, heartbreaking picture of total poverty and isolation. And then one night, right there in the cafe, the absolute worst thing happens. Azorka, the old man's only friend in the entire world, just lies down at his feet and dies. Just like that. After a moment, the old man just gets up, leaves his dog, and walks out into the freezing Saint Petersburg night. He doesn't get far. He collapses in an alley and dies. Utterly alone, forgotten. And that is what Dostoevsky means by humiliated and insulted. It's not just about not having money. It's a condition of the soul. It's that deep spiritual pain you feel when you've been stripped of all your dignity, when you're treated like you're not even human, when you can die and not a single person in the world knows or even cares that you're gone.
And that's really the core argument of the whole novel, isn't it? Through stories like The Old Man's, Dostoevsky is basically forcing us, the readers, to look at the person we might just walk past on the street, the person we might dismiss as some wretch, and see that they are our equal. They're our brother. It's a massive, powerful call for empathy.
So why are we talking about this early novel so much? Well, because this is where it all starts.
This is where Dostoevsky begins to shape the epic themes and unforgettable characters that would make him a literary legend.
Yeah, the best way to think about this book is like Dostoevsky's creative laboratory. It's a little raw, incredibly emotional, and it's pretty clear this is where he's first playing around with all those huge psychological and moral questions that would later become the engine for masterpieces like Crime and Punishment or The Brothers Karamazov.
I mean, you can literally see the blueprints for his later work right here on the page. Take Alyosha, the naive, good-hearted guy. He's pretty much the first draft of Prince Mishkin from The Idiot. And Natasha's whole self-sacrificing, destructive love, that's a theme he'll explore for the rest of his career. And that awful Prince Valkovsky, he's the prototype for all the cruel, cynical noblemen that show up in his later books. It's all here, just in its earliest, most powerful form.
And you have to remember the context here. 1861. This was Dostoevsky's first big novel after coming back from a decade in a Siberian prison camp. A decade! He was basically reintroducing himself to the literary world, and he chose to do it with a story that dives headfirst into the exact kind of suffering and humiliation he saw every single day in exile.
Which leaves us with a pretty heavy question, right? That story about Old Man Smith, it's not just a sad little side story. It's Dostoevsky holding up a mirror to all of us. He's forcing us to ask, what is our responsibility to the people who are suffering in silence all around us? And what happens, not just to them, but to our own humanity, when we make the choice to just look away?